Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We're looking at a surveillance platform that doesn't require fuel, doesn't show up on radar, and can be distracted by a handful of breadcrumbs. By the mid-1970s, the Cold War was a game of inches, and the U-2 planes were too vulnerable and satellites were too far away. The CIA needed eyes on the ground in places like Leningrad. They needed something that could blend in. They needed Project ORAN. This wasn't just Grandpa's hobby. This was the Office of Research and Development turning biology into a weapon. Project ORAN focused on the homing instinct of the Columba livia, i.e., the common pigeon. The agency discovered that a pigeon could carry a payload equal to 1/3 of its body weight and still navigate hundreds of miles back to its loft. According to a Declassified ORD memorandum, the bird is a unique platform. It is ubiquitous in urban environments, requires no maintenance in the field, and possesses a navigation system that remains superior to our most advanced microcircuitry, end quote. The agency developed a 35mm micro camera that weighed only 35 grams. It was designed to be harnessed to the pigeon's breast, taking a photo every few seconds as the bird flew over the target. To ensure the birds flew over the specific points of interest, the CIA conducted training sorties at secret lofts in the United States using mock-ups of Soviet naval yards. Researchers found that pigeons could be trained to fly one-way missions by using a mobile loft. The bird would be released miles away and fly back to the truck that was constantly moving, allowing for a rolling recovery in hostile territory. The CIA investigated avian night vision, attempting to see if pigeons could be conditioned to fly in total darkness to avoid being spotted by Soviet sentries or hawks. Project ORAN included a sub-study on bioenergetics, feeding the birds high-calorie synthetic pellets to increase their flight speed to over 60 miles per hour during the dash over the target. The cameras were programmed with a tiny Huygens timer, ensuring the shutter only fired when the bird reached the calculated coordinates of the naval base. The agency even experimented with bird-borne sensors to detect chemical or radioactive leaks, effectively turning the pigeons into flying Geiger counters. One declassified report describes the ORAN harness as being made of self-destructing silk that would rot away after 48 hours, so if the bird was captured, the evidence would literally fall off. The CIA faced a major hurdle: the peregrine falcon. Soviet bases were home to natural predators that loved agency assets for lunch. The CIA actually looked into deterrent scents to make the pigeons smell unappetizing to the hawks. In 1976, a test bird flew over a secure facility and returned with photos so clear you could read the license plates on the cars in the parking lot, a feat satellites couldn't achieve for another 20 years. According to declassified training manuals, the CIA's pigeon handlers used positive reinforcement in the form of hemp seeds, which were found to be the most effective motivator for keeping the birds focused during high-stress flight maneuvers. The agency developed a specialized light pulse training method where a strobe light was used to signal a pigeon to loop over a target area, allowing the micro camera to get multiple angles of the same Soviet submarine hull. A quote from a declassified project log: "The primary challenge remains the recovery of the biological platform in denied areas. If the bird lands on a civilian windowsill, the mission integrity is compromised," end quote. CIA technicians built a miniature dark room specifically to process the tiny 8mm film strips recovered from the birds, using specialized magnifying lenses to search for secret Soviet blueprints. The pigeons were often transported in soundproofed containers to prevent them from becoming disorientated by the noise of the jet aircraft used to smuggle them into Europe. The CIA's Office of Technical Service, OTS, discovered that a pigeon's heart rate could spike to 600 beats per minute during a camera-laden ascent, necessitating the development of a lightweight, breathable mesh harness that wouldn't cause the bird to overheat mid-mission. A quote from a declassified ORD researcher: "We found that the common street pigeon possesses a spatial memory that puts our early computer-guided drones to shame. A bird can navigate a city skyline better than a man with a map," End quote. To prevent the pigeons from being intercepted by enemy bird watchers, the agency selected birds with drab gray feathers, avoiding the more colorful or white breeds that would stand out against the industrial concrete of Soviet naval yards. Declassified budgets show the CIA spent over $100,000 in 1970s dollars just on the development of silent apertures for the cameras, so the clicking of the shutter wouldn't startle the bird or alert sentry standing just a few feet below. When you get to the field test results for Project ORAN, the black bars and redactions start to look like a picketed fence. The heaviest redactions are in the loss of assets logs. Speculation suggests these bars hide a mission where a pigeon was shot down over a sensitive Soviet nuclear site, and the blacked out text describes the frantic CIA operation to recover the bird before the KGB found the camera. Some speculation surrounds the Trojan pigeon. Conspiracy theorists believe the redacted sections describe pigeons being used to carry more than cameras, specifically microbiological agents designed to be dropped into the ventilation shafts of Soviet bunkers. There is a theory that the redactions hide human-avian interface. Speculation holds that the CIA attempted to use brain implants to steer the birds via radio signal, and the black bars hide the gory failures of the early neurological experiments. Some speculate the redactions hide the domestic deployment. The theory is that ORAN pigeons were used to photograph the backyards of American subversives during the 1970s, and the bars hides the names of the U.S. citizens who were being watched by the birds. Conspiracy theorists often point to the deep sea logs. The speculation is that ORAN was actually a cover for a project involving suicide pigeons designed to fly into the air intakes of Soviet jet engines, and the black bars hide the kamikaze data. Finally, there is speculation that the pigeons weren't birds at all, but early biomechanical constructs. The theory is that the black bars hide the assembly instructions for a creature that looked like a bird, but was 100% agency hardware. There is significant speculation that the redacted training site locations were actually inside the forbidden zone of Chernobyl after the disaster, where the CIA tested if radiated pigeons could still navigate effectively back to a Western-controlled loft. Some theorists speculate that the black bars in the 1978 report hide a mass defection event where an entire flock of CIA pigeons flew straight to a Soviet signal tower, suggesting the Russians had found a way to hack the bird's biological compass. A persistent conspiracy theory holds that the redactions hide the interspecies relay logs, where pigeons were used to pass messages to acoustic kitty assets in the field, creating a complex animal-based communication network. There's speculation that the redacted payload was actually a miniature EMP device, and the black bars hide the CIA's plan to have pigeons knock out the power grids of Soviet command centers by landing on specific transformers. Finally, some speculate that the redactions hide the genetic enhancement data, where the CIA attempted to crossbreed pigeons with birds of prey to create a super spy that could defend itself against falcons while still carrying the camera. Was Project ORAN a success? As a technical demonstration, yes. It proved that a $10 bird could beat a $10 million camera, but operationally, it was a logistical nightmare. Pigeons are notoriously difficult to debrief, and the risk of a bird simply deciding to join a local flock in Leningrad was too high for most station chiefs. The feathers may have settled, but the impact was massive. As far as breakthroughs go, micro-optics, the 35-gram camera developed for ORAN, paved the way for the spy cameras used in the 1980s and 90s. Miniature harnessing, the agency learned how to attach heavy tech to a fragile biological system without killing it, tech now used in wildlife conservation. Urban camouflage, the project taught the CIA that the best way to hide a secret is to put it in plain sight, in a form that no one bothers to look twice at. Project ORAN reminds us that the CIA doesn't just look to the stars for the secrets. Sometimes they look to the sidewalk. Thanks for listening. Next time, we are going to be looking at Project ORAN. The agency didn't just need a bird, they needed a stealth launch pad. We'll look at the secret modifications made to a Volkswagen Beetle, because if you're an agent in the field, you can't just stand on a street corner and toss a bird into the air. You'd be arrested in seconds. The fix, a hidden electric-powered trapdoor built into the floor pan of the car. We'll talk about how the driver would slow down, press a button, and the pigeon would drop out of the bottom of the Volkswagen, staying low to the asphalt to avoid detection before soaring up toward the target. Join us for The Beetle in the Bird next time. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.